with the evolving market. Thank you. I appreciate getting the recording going. So today we're going to go over numbers and how to use those numbers and how to use the interest rates going up with your clients to explain to them that if the rates keep climbing the way they are, prices might not be comparable in 30 years. Who wanted to take that one first? I know, Gail, you said you didn't want to go first.
Craig wanted to go first.
Lurchy, you want to go first?
I remember we were talking about this, I would say about 3 months ago. And we actually did the calculation that every 1% of interest rate affects 13% of a sale price. So it's like paying 13% more for the house. How I've used that for a buyer is it is used already and it's 26%. So $100,000 house is $126,000 now, theoretically, or $130,000. So let's say you wait again, it goes up another half. Well, price is going to stay the same, but the interest rate went up. So it's better to jump now than jump later, because we actually had the conversations a couple of weeks ago too. There are really only 4 things that we can live in. 1, a house we rent. 2, a house we own. 3, our parents' house, which we don't want to do. And then the 4th, 3 hots and a cot, which means you're behind bars for a while. So those are the places you can live, and you might as well buy it versus rent it, unless you're in Randy's world. You want to find the investments, and then we find our great rentals. But that's how I've been saying it literally to the buyers. Those are your 4 options. Which one of the 4 do you want to pick from? And then the interest rate doesn't really matter. And then I've also told them, stop buying expensive cars in the next 12 months. When your lease comes up, let's redo it, get a less expensive car, because you only have so much money that could run out at the end of the month. So it's really adjusting our lifestyles that over the past 3 to 5 years, we've gotten really spoiled with zero interest on the
exact thing now. Let's bring that message.
And not going to jail.
A little more passionate.
No, so Craig, now when you did that research for 1% equals 13% in sales price, I'd love to see more of that, because that is powerful. Analytics and data like that you can show someone. And with the Fed going up at 0.75% at a time now, I know a lot of us are being very positive, and that's good. We want to stay positive. I'm seeing interest rates continuing to climb. Now, even if they get past 7, 8, 9%, that's still great money back in the 80s and the 90s. And that's something that you always need to remind people. Guys, the market's the way that they are. If you need to be in the area, you need to get into your home, the interest rates can always be refinanced down. Gail, I want you to jump in because you're leaving at 12:30 or 9:30 your time.
Yeah.
So tell us, what are you telling your clients that are kind of on the fence, or they're trying to decide, should they wait for prices to continue to come down and possibly risk interest rates, continuing to skyrocket? Or what are you telling your clients now?
I tell people, like, the interest rates right now, it's kind of like, you're dating them, right? You're not married to them. You're going to be able to go ahead and, get alternative financing in a couple of years. We don't know when, but, here in California, the interest rates compared to the rent, well, how much the rents are going up. I used to own a property management company here, so I'm pretty in tune with that. And it's going, if you're going to rent, it just depends if they're going to sell. Like, I just sold my house, right? And what am I doing? I'm buying homes in Florida, right? So I'm buying like brand new $500,000 homes for my portfolio, because there I'm buying the same house for $500,000 that I would have paid for $900,000 here. So I'm not worried about the interest rates, right? And the rent, you can't even get into it. Like right now, I called 3 property managers yesterday in Florida. They're like, oh my God, for a little 2,200 square foot home in St. Johns County, I could get $3,500 a month. Where here, I'd spend $800,000 for the same home. So it's just all relative to, pivoting. Like, do you have to move? Do you have to move? And it's death, divorce, downsizing. So that's really the people. I'm an ambulance chaser. So
motivation. Yeah, motivation.
Yeah,
absolutely. I agree with you. I agree. I totally agree. And when you find the motivation, they'll also be willing to make a little bit of sacrifices as the markets change that you can work with and help them achieve their goal. And like you said, there's obviously motivation in divorce and those type of things.
Wait,
now, Randy, yeah, you love it. Yeah, exactly. It works great. They're motivated. They're ready to go. That's what, as the markets get more challenging, or maybe not more challenging, but just different, we have to pivot. we really do need to focus on A clients, the clients that are ready, willing, and able at this moment. If they're not, we can keep working and keep trying to find those clients, but not trying to force an unqualified or unmotivated buyer or seller to purchase, because that's just going to waste our time, and we waste our time finding the A-level buyers. Now, Randy, I know you work with a lot of investors, right? Tell me how you're going over that with them on the numbers with rates rising and prices falling and all that.
Yeah, so I think I touched a little bit on it last week. So the biggest thing right now is I'm telling them to estimate about 10% to 15% less on what they might receive in 3 to 4 months when they're finished with the rehab. So just kind of go with the trends. I think the hardest thing for everybody to just be comfortable with, and this is not just investors, this is really any seller, right? And the flipper is then a seller when they actually purchase the home. Because the data, especially in San Diego, you look at houses that literally closed a week ago, for example, at 720,000, right? Well, that doesn't mean we use that as your comp, right? Of what you'll get that number 3 months from now. And if you go even further, what I now look at, it's like, okay, when did this property get listed? Right? Because I know what interest rates were doing then, and I know what the market was doing in San Diego in May, right? So again, everything is very localized. So you got to really be, become an expert in your local market. So you start understanding the data and what it's telling you and how to really guide your clients the best way. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to be in denial, and they're not going to, some clients literally just close their eyes. They don't even want to listen, right? Because it's almost like, what? You're telling me that the same house I was looking at, like this house sold a week ago, and you're telling me I should list mine below that? Why? Right? Well, I'm like, well, look when this was listed in May. We didn't have much inventory still in May. Yeah, interest rates started to climb in May, but they really leveled off in May, where it became a little bit of a normalcy. We're like, okay, interest rates are in the fives, inventory is still very low, not many actives were still on the market. I was like, so people were still getting 3-4 offers per listing. I was like, we actually need to use the data that is actually current. Show me something that was listed in June and closed in June, which those are very few right now, right? Because it's only June 23rd, right? So there are a couple here and there that we might find, but so then what do I do then? I was like, well, then I put more emphasis on the actives and the pending, really mostly pending, but the actives are telling me what my competition is, right? So these are the conversations I'm having with sellers as far as pricing, and then also getting them encouraged that, hey, wherever you're moving, because the last two are either moving to Michigan or Wisconsin, I'm like, I also pulled the stats there to show them that them buying a home there is going to also be at a lower price because they're experiencing similar market trends that we're anticipating and experiencing in San Diego, right? I can show them the price reductions and everything. And the one website I'm actually going to put in here that we use, that we found to be really good on finding price reductions in most cities in the States, has really been helpful for us to guide our clients on why selling and owning in another state should not still, don't kill that dream, right? Just because you're not going to get the same net that you were hoping for here. And then as far as just benefits overall, I think that's one thing that maybe Peter, Pete mentioned last week that we want to talk about. It's just, reminding people benefits of owning a home, period, right? So with investors, what we're talking about, okay, if you're going to buy this rehab, you're going to own it temporarily. However, let's also have another exit strategy in play potentially. So like this one investor who locked up a property and basically, couldn't back out anymore, or he would lose his deposit. And the market was literally shifting, right? This was literally like a week and a half ago. Market is shifting. He's locked into this property that he locked up 2 weeks prior. Now he's got to close. It's 2 days away. So we looked at a strategy of listing it as is the moment he bought it. But already it's trending. The market is showing us that he's probably not going to get the number we were hoping for in as is condition to an end user. So now what are his options? Rehab it and try to sell it in 3 months, hoping that the market will rebound a bit and become more even, or keep it and maybe do an Airbnb, right? So you start thinking about, okay, what does that mean, right? As far as owning a home as an investment now, right? That some of us, even when you're dealing with homeowners, if they don't want to sell, well, what if they kept it and then they still move? Can they get a mortgage on another property if they rent the property they own right now? Because the rental market is strong, is a very strong market. Maybe they can actually cash flow on the property they own, right? That's their primary right now. And then they could still move and get a mortgage because 75% of the rental income in most cases can be used towards their debt to income ratio for the mortgage, right? So these are, things that I talk about with my clients in terms of, don't, continue pressing in on making forward progress in home ownership. If it's a primary home, secondary home, or investment home, like Gail is doing right currently, right? So, I don't want, maybe I'll let Brian kind of get into the specifics of maybe the specific benefits of owning an actual home. So Brian, if you want to maybe dive into that. I know Pete wants us to kind of go into that topic because we get the biggest objection right now is I'm going to wait because of interest rates, and that would be a good one to kind of go through. What's your thoughts?
One quick thing. So something blew my mind yesterday. So I put a client from California into contract into a brand new home in Florida yesterday. I was able to negotiate $40,000 less from a brand new home builder who's a great home builder there. So I'm telling our buyers, this is the best time to buy. I said, we can negotiate. I said, so what? If you would have bought the same house 7 months ago, or even 6 months ago, you would have paid $100,000 more. You would have been bidding against 12 people. Now you're in the driver's seat. So I'm encouraging him and just, telling them, don't worry about the interest rate. Think about the interest rate versus you paid $100,000, $150,000 more in California, sometimes $200,000. We've written offers for over $200,000. You're so far ahead. And, I love the strategy that Randy's talking about. And, those are great conversations. So right now I'm focusing on new construction because those builders are hungry and they're scared. I talked to my lender this morning right before this meeting, and he's a lender for a new home community, a Lennar community down in Salinas, somewhere down there, and they're losing 6 a day. 6 a day. People are bailing because they don't want to wait for a year, because those people that are buying new homes that are pre-approved, so this is a great time for investors to buy, new construction, because those people that used to have to wait for a year are gone. They're just walking away. One guy just walked away from $100,000 deposit because he lost $4 million in the stock market. So, and I'm really, we're focusing on is the over 55, because those people have cash and they can, with cash now, you can start winning in this market.
Hey, Gail. So a couple questions. Stephanie said, I'd like to know more about the new constructions and how to get in touch with them.
With the builders?
Yeah, that's just a question. I mean, I know, but I'm going to let you answer.
So basically, well, gosh, this new Florida MLS site, because now I'm in California, our MLS sucks here. You have new construction, you have coming soon, all that. It's just studying the market. You type in, I first started just with Google. So I'm doing my homework. It's like I'm becoming a real estate agent all over again because it's a whole new market. Same, yeah.
That Randy, what you said, and Gail, what you just said is you're not becoming a real estate agent again, you're becoming even more of an expert. And that when these times get challenging and things are pivoting and we got to be fluid, when you're an expert, you can have the conversations like Randy is having. And that's what we're trying to give everyone that's on this call is these kind of advice on how to have these conversations, the things to bring up, and the ways to pivot and the ways to maneuver, because as the market changes, that's what's going to be able to set you apart. And like you were saying, Gail, you had someone back out because of the stock market. With the stock market crashing the way that it has and interest rates going up, if you were in a new build for $1.5 million, that is now almost a $2.5 million home just based on interest rate changes.
Right.
And you're stuck on it. Plus half your portfolio has crashed with the stock market. There's a lot of changes coming. And like you said, if you have cash, you're going to have a great opportunity. So I love it. Brian, I do want to go over to you, buddy, because like Randy was saying, you're kind of the expert. So let's hear it.
Well, Craig mentioned something to his conversation person about let's look at where you're at today and let's prepare for later. And that was about the car lease, right? I can tell you that almost all Americans are payment driven. We're a payment driven society, right? We all have this payment driven mindset. So what's my payment? What's my payment? What's my payment? Well, when you focus on the payment, I think today more than ever, if you're a newer agent or if you're working with a buyer, before you actually present an offer on a property and your buyer sits down and you and the buyer make the offer, make sure that the lender is involved in the offer price and show the buyer upfront before the seller even looks at the offer. Hey, just so you know, your offer, this is what that offer means monthly to you if the seller accepts the offer. I want to make sure you know principal, interest, taxes, insurance, HOA fees, all the things that you should know. You probably had this conversation already, but I want to reconfirm it, because when I present your offer to the listing agent, here's what I'm going to do today for my buyers. And I would recommend you all do this. Before you present an offer now, you have the luxury of making a few phone calls to anything that's currently pending. When you call the pending selling agent, ask them only one question, maybe two at the most. When this property closes, will it be at value or above or below? And have you had an appraisal, and have you had any issues with your appraisal? You're going to find appraisal issues are starting to happen. Yeah, but the buyer released their contingencies, but when it closes, sellers, they worked a gap out, whatever it is. You need to know that, because when you present your offer now to the listing agent, you're going to have to educate that listing agent when you get a counter offer, or when you present the offer, you're just going to say, hey, by the way, the model match around the corner that's pending for 30 days, I found out they had an appraisal problem. Just so you know, I'm aware of that. I haven't shared that with my client. I want you and your seller to know that. Consider that when you look at this offer, right? I'm going to educate, be that expert. So the more I study payment-driven, society-minded people, the more I realize that when interest rates go up 0.5%, if you look at the statistical numbers of home values, well, if you're buying a $500,000 home and it was 4% and now it's 5%, that $5,000 divided by 12 monthly payments is about $440 of extra payment money just on the interest. Here's the good news. The government's going to let you write that off in your taxes. The tough news is you got to come up with it now each month. But later you're going to get from your bank, you're going to get a statement that says you get to deduct this from so if you're in a good tax bracket and you're getting an adjustment, then that 0.5% bump or 1% bump or 1.5% bump, it's always a factor of the interest rate. The principal is always going to be the same amortization. 500,000 over 360 payments will always be the same. Predictable. Taxes, predictable. Insurance, predictable. HOA, predictable. Interest rate is what we have to really look at. So in the mindset of a buyer, now let's shift. I'm the listing agent and I've got a buyer coming in, and I look at my seller and I'm going to say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you know what this buyer is going to need to pay each month to buy your house at this price? Look at this. That's their new monthly payment. And most sellers will go, holy crap, where are they getting that kind of monthly income? Because, we've got all this equity and we're just wanting to scale down or whatever. It's amazing to watch the reaction of a seller when they actually see what it takes to buy their own home in today's market. It's amazing.
It is.
It's truly amazing. If you ever want a price reduction really quickly, you show a seller what buyers are having to pay on their house, and we have the risk of not getting an appraisal. Now you have a better conversation going on with a seller that's in an adjusting market. Numbers. Know your numbers. Know these things. Come in. Trends are identifiable. Usually we don't know we're in a down or up market for 6 to 8 months based on MLS statistics, because it takes a while for the sales to show up, and the sales will affect the next cost per square foot value up or down trend. But there's a way to identify it actually today simply by looking what is the active inventory cost per square foot value based upon reality. There's fantasy, that's list price. There's reality, that's close price. Where is the gap right now? Properties in escrow, you can call them, you'll learn. There's a trend coming. Typically that trend is identifiable if the pending price sits between the value of the active and the sold, and somewhere in between is a value that's pending. What's still selling? Is it up? Is it going down? But if it's trending down and the active prices are still higher, then there's an issue going on with reality versus fantasy. Sellers that don't have to sell are like, fine, I'll take it off the market. And that's,
I love that. Fantasyland.
yeah.
Fantasyland. Yeah.
There's
So,
always,
and yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Well, and that's something that you guys, every single one of us is really focused on educating ourselves and then being able to educate ourselves or you know, our clients with that. I kind of want to dig into that, but Matt Beattiata, the best. Matt, how are you telling people or how are you telling your sellers right now how to adjust for these markets as well? I want to go into that with us.
So since we're all talking about, I mean, everybody's so focused on interest rates. One thing I want to point out is that you can buy down an interest rate. It costs 2% of the loan amount to buy an interest rate down by 0.5 point. So we just put a property into escrow and I'm on the listing side, by offering to buyers that were on the fence who we couldn't get to make an offer. I said, look, the sellers will buy down your rate by 0.5 point, which they're happy to do, right? Because it's only 2% of the loan amount. It's only, you know, it wasn't that, it was like a $900,000 house or something. So the point of the story is whether you're on the buy side or the sell side, you got to really talk with your lender and get educated on interest rates and what you can do to help the buyers with interest rates, right? And the most significant thing you can do, because remember that rate is going to be there, they're going to have that rate for a long time until rates drop. So if you can offer, you know, you could be on the buy side and literally when you write your offer, ask the seller for a 2% credit of, you know, whatever 2% of the loan amount is, not the purchase price, but the loan amount. So so the buyers can buy the rate down by 0.5 point. And as everybody's talking about, sellers are a lot more motivated right now than they were. They don't have multiple offers. And so they're going to be willing to do that. So whether you're on the buy side or the sell side, again, talk with your lender and educate yourself. And that's something that I've been using on all my listings right now is just saying, look, why don't we offer to the buyers, a prospective buyer, that we will buy their rate down? You don't want to drop the price on the house, or we've already dropped the price on the house, but it hasn't done anything. Let's offer that we'll buy the rate down by 0.5 point. That's really significant. And that's a really good thing you can do. The other thing that to keep in mind is it seems like we're going into a recession. And when we are really in a recession, once once the government and the Fed believe that we're in a recession, they are going to drop interest rates to revive it, right? So you can also tell your buyers that, look, you're going to be paying this rate for, I don't know, maybe 12, 18 months. And then most likely the Fed is going to lower interest rates and you can refi. So like Brian said, yeah, we are totally a payment driven society. So if you can lower the buyer's payment, you'll make that property much more appealing. So again, 2%, I mean, heck, 4%, you buy it down by 1 point, right? So I think that's a really good thing that everybody can do, whether you're on the buy side or the sell side.
And I love that because we have so many sellers right now that have so much equity. I mean, they're at hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're going to be cashing out on this home. 2%, 4%, it doesn't feel great, but it's an option that we can give prospective buyers that really set us apart. And if we're going back to that old, you get one offer, and that thing is a jewel. We take that to our sellers very proud, and they're happy to have their offers. And that's a great thing to have. So I love that. I love having some different things. Hey, Pete, it's good to see you, buddy. Good morning.
Hey.
Go ahead, Randy.
You're muted,
Hey guys, how are you? Sorry, it was my daughter's 15th birthday, so family comes first, and it's today Alex, my dog's 8th birthday, so that's a big thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to keep you guys waiting. I'm fired up. I love this topic. This is how I've converted a lot of people and a lot of customers over the years, is breaking down payments. I think once you break down payments, it really changes the perspective of the potential customer on what your professional level is, and it will separate you from the pack of all the other agents that aren't doing it. So I don't know if you guys clearly stated how the amortization rates affect loans and how they work. Did you guys talk about that?
We didn't get into the details. We touched upon it briefly, so go, Pete.
Okay, so it's super important, you guys. You have to understand how banks come up with rates and how they amortize, right? Because a lot of people deal in everyday world where what they're dealing with is cash and they're dealing with checks. With amortization, it's the way that the banks break it down on what they're going to be paid interest for allowing you as their investor because they're investing in you, not the house. The house is collateral to borrow money from them to buy the house if you have the right credit scores and so forth. So when you look at this, where back on March 17th, the rate was at 3% on a $1 million loan, the rate would, your monthly payment for principal and interest would be $4,210. Now here we are 90 days, roughly 90 days later, and the same loan is almost at 5.5%, 6%, and the difference on the payment goes from $4,210 to around $6,000 a month. So that's a difference, you guys, of $1,790 per month that somebody has to come up with, not only to qualify, but to pay to afford that house. It's significant. A lot of people don't realize it. So you need to be able to break it down in the simplest terms. I love what Matt's saying. We're getting back to the old school where you're going to see people assuming loans from sellers. If the banks allow it, you're going to see sellers buying down loans for buyers to, motivate them to make an offer. And just remember, every time a seller or buyer pays a point to pay down a loan, that point is tax deductible that tax year. Okay, so 2 points is, 1 point is 1% of the loan, 2 points, 2% of the loan. So if the loan's $1 million, 1% of the loan is $10,000. That's a $10,000 write-off that you get as a seller to buy that down that rate. $20,000 would be 2 points. You have a $20,000 write-off. So that's a big number, not only for the buyer, but for the seller, because there's huge tax advantages. And that's what you have to explain to people. A lot of people don't know how to break down numbers. They don't know how to qualify people, and you have to start learning this. This is a skill set that you need to have at open houses. You need to have when you're doing your initial strategy session with people. You can't just always say, oh, have you been qualified by a lender? Have you gone and talked to a lender? Because what lenders typically do, and I'm not knocking lenders, what they'll do is they'll just tell the people, hey, this is what you can afford. This is what you can do. And they always give them the top tier. What do you think consumers do? The buyers say, well, I don't want to go that high. I'm going to come to here. But nobody has still explained the full payment, the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. PITI, principal, interest, taxes, insurance. And then you have to look at what tax bracket they're in and what type of write-off they can get. We know that you can write off property taxes up to $10,000. We know that you can write off interest on the loan up to a $750,000 loan. So you have to be able to break down those payments, because there's a true payment and then the real payment. The true payment is what you're going to have to pay the bank every month. Now, you can set it up through your company or corporation, and full disclosure, I'm not an accountant, but you can set it up through human resources to up your W-4, right? So your W-4 is how many dependents you have. And what you're allowed to do is to up those dependents when you have a mortgage, when you have a tax payment, to get the money back in your paycheck, whether it's monthly, weekly, bi-monthly, or you can get one lump sum at the end of the year, because the government wants you to own a house. That's the American dream. If you talk to any accountant, they'll say you want to save money on taxes, buy a house as your primary residence, because you have write-offs. So right now, as a renter, you don't have those write-offs. So you're throwing your money down the toilet. You're flushing it down the toilet because you're not getting any tax breaks on that money that you're paying for your rent, when you can apply that money to a mortgage on a house that you own that gains equity over time, and you have the pride of home ownership, which means that your rent will not go up. It means that you're in control of your destiny. It means that you build your credit, you build your future through a home ownership, and you set up your family if you do it correctly. And that's where we guide people. So a lot of times when we're off by 5 or 10,000 on a negotiation, you guys, the way I break it down to the buyers is I say, listen, the seller, I got great news. The seller countered us. They want 10,000 more for the house because they feel that that's what the market is bearing. You're only putting down 10%. So you only have to come up with $1,000 more. But wait, there's even better news. you get to finance the other 9. And the 9 finance, because they're going to buy down your rate from 5.5 to 4, instead of costing you $60 per month, it's now going to cost you around $36 a month. But wait, it gets even better. On that $36 a month on your payment, you're going to write off 30 to 40% of that. So if you write off 30% of 36, that brings us down to $24 a month, which basically breaks down to around, what's that, 40 cents a day, more or less, or well, I'm sorry, 80 cents a day, right? So you can say you can buy this house right now and all it's going to cost you is 80 cents a day. Or we can continue to look, and guess what? I just received a phone call from the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, and he told me the markets and the banks and the interest rates, they're not waiting for you to find a house. We're going to up the rate. And if that rate even ticks 1/8 of a percentage point, that's the $24 a month that you just missed out on. And you're still searching, and it's going to cost you more on a monthly basis. So what would you like to do? Do you want to buy this right now and make memories? Or do you want to roll the dice and pay more money? But that's how you have to break it down. Most agents can't break it down to the simplest terms. And you have to remember, guys, consumers out there, they work in real numbers. All they're aware of is if somebody says 10,000 or 20,000, that's what they have to pay. Or they just deal with checks. They think they have to come up with everything. The bank is going to provide the majority of the financing, and then you just have to break it down and say, these are the tax benefits between your true payment and your real payment after the tax savings. And when you break that down, you'll turn every buyer that was apprehensive to buy into a solid buyer who will move forward and will buy. That's the key. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. I mean, you have to understand your amortization charts and how they break down. It's always per thousand. So right now, the difference between 4% and 6%, 6% is $6 per thousand. 4% is $4.21 per thousand. So what does that mean on 10,000? At 6%, it's $60. At 4%, it's $42.10. What is it per 100,000, right? On 100,000, it's $600 a month for that PI at 6%. At 4% on 100,000, it's $421 per month. So you can see those savings. On $1 million, it's $6,000 per month principal and interest on $1 million loan at 6%. And on $1 million loan at 4%, it's $4,210 a month. That's how we're getting that spread of $1,790 per month, because consumers live in the monthly payment zone, you guys. That's where everybody lives. What do I have to pay my credit cards every month? What do I have to pay for taxes every month? What do I have to pay for gas, electric, food, water, shelter? That's how they look at it. And I think you have to be able to break those down in real time. And that's why I gave you 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and $1 million. And that's a very simple way to break down payments. And then most people are with state and federal, except Cameron, because he's living in the Sunshine State. But most people are going to be somewhere between 30 and 40% for state and federal tax on what they can write off based on the size of the loan. They can only write off the interest deduction up to $750,000. They can only take a deduction up to $10,000 on the property taxes, which encompasses most of America. Not in Southern California where I am, but most of America.
Hey, do you have a website online that you have some of these numbers that we can to give everyone here? Because I know going through these, we hear them. It'd be really nice if we can get a website that we can link these numbers for folks.
Go to scwmls.com, and that will give you the amortization chart, and you can see it all the way across from 2% all the way up to 8%. It shows interest only. It shows 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and now the new 40-year notes, right? But Matt had a good point. And typically in a presidential election year, historically, rates will bounce back down. So if you look at history, history doesn't repeat itself necessarily, but it leaves indicators. It leaves signals of what could happen. So if I was buying a house right now and I was a consumer buying a house, I would be going a 5-year or a 3-year principal and interest adjustable rate mortgage, because I would be looking at to refinance out of that in 2024. And that's going to give you the lowest payment per month, because let's face it, the first 5 to 7 years, you're not getting a lot of credit towards principal. The majority of the bank wants their money back before they give you the benefit of the doubt or the credit towards the principal. So not much principal is paid out of that payment.
Right.
All
Now,
right?
also something else that's really important, Pete. I don't mean to cut you off here, but Matt went over this, and before I forget, if you do start putting in to offer things like buying down rates, and you're doing stuff that's a little bit different, a little bit more advanced, remember that when you have an agent that schedules to see your listing, you need to sometimes go out and explain to them what's all going on, and educate not only your clients but the other agent on how this can benefit them. I have done this many times, and it works tremendously because they regurgitate exactly what you say, and the way that you tell the agent is exactly how the buyer will hear it. So make sure that you know what you're talking about, you know how it works, you give it to them, and you teach the other agent how to present it for you, and it'll set you apart. So that's really important. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on that. That's a good point, Cameron, because you have to remember a lot of agents, the average agent out here only sells 3.2 homes a year, right? So they have a lot riding on it. And when you call them and say, look, I spoke to the sellers, they're going to counter your offer, the agents usually freak out and they take it personally, right? Just remember, your clientele will react based on your vibration, based on your mindset, and based on how you deliver the message. So if you get upset and you say, I can't believe that son of a bitch, Craig Lurch, countered me at 20,000 above asking because he has 4 offers, he's playing games, the buyers are going to react the same way. They're going to say, I can't believe that either. Are they crazy? I'm not doing that. And they sabotage themselves. Instead of saying, hey, listen, I got great news. Nobody buys houses that nobody wants. There's 4 people who want this house. I just got off the phone with my buddy Craig. I only have to buy him Philly cheesesteaks for 30 days. He has us in front position. He countered us 20,000 above asking with you putting down 10%. You only have to come up with $2 more grand. How great is that? The other 18 we're going to finance at 4%. And at 4%, it's $4.21. So that we know 420 times 18 is going to lead us to around $80 a month. But it gets better because you're in a 40% tax bracket. So you're really not paying $80 a month. You're really going to pay $45 a month, which really breaks down to around $1.30 a day. Do you want to lose the house for $1.30 a day, or do you want to get the house now? Because the inventory is still thin. We've been looking around. We haven't been able to find anything. You know, I used this one the other day. I was talking to an agent and I said, hey, I got great news. We countered you at this. And he said, how is that great news? He went immediately to negative town, you guys. And I said, well, let me ask you something. Have you broken down the payments with your client? He said, what's that? What do you mean? No, I just sent him my lender, right? That's called lazy real estate. You have to understand this. If you don't understand it, take as many lenders as you can to lunch, and you pay for lunch, and ask them questions and have them break down numbers and show you how all the different programs work so that you're familiar with this and you can speak firsthand, because it's super important. It's about payments, you guys, and it's about tax benefits. And he said, no, I've never talked to him about that. I said, well, this is where you're at to get the house. It's really not a big deal. Can I explain why? And he said, sure. And I explained it to him. And he said, Pete, I don't know if I can regurgitate that to my buyer. Can I get him on the phone? I said, sure, get him on the phone. And I started off with the buyer and said, God, I love your agent. He's such a great guy. He does an awesome job. I've known him for a while. He's got you in the best position possible. Here's the deal. My sellers are having a lot of interest. There's another offer coming in. We would love to do it with you. We're 10,000 off, but we're really not 10,000 off. He told me you're putting down 20%. So you have to come up with another $2 grand. We're going to finance the other 8. He told me you're at a 4% interest rate. So that's going to cost you around $34 a month. But in your tax bracket, based on what your agent told me, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're in a 35 to 40% tax bracket. He said, yeah, I'm in a 40% tax bracket. So I said, if you look at that, it's not really $34 a month. It's really $19 a month because you're saving $15 on taxes. So it's $19 a month, which really breaks down to around 68 cents a day. And he said, what do you mean? I said, it's going to break down 68 cents a day. I said, do you go to Starbucks? He said, yes, I do. I said, how often do you go to Starbucks? He goes 2 to 3 days a week. I said, did you know that the average bill at Starbucks is $14? They did a survey. It's $14. When somebody goes into Starbucks, the average bill at Starbucks is $14. Can you believe that for coffee and pastries and all that junk? $14. So I said, the guy's, corrected me. He said, no, I don't spend 14. I get this, and it's roughly $10. I said, better yet. And you go there how many days a week? He said 3 days a week. I said, okay, so 3 days a week, 4 weeks in a month, that's 12 days, $10, that's $120, right? He said, yeah. He goes, but I don't spend $10. I'd probably spend like 7 or 8. I said, better yet. Why don't we do this? Buy the house and I'll pay for your next month of Starbucks. I'm going to give you a $100 Starbucks card because you'd be crazy to turn down this counteroffer and give up this house because it's superb for 68 cents a day. Just think about that. If you don't go to Starbucks for 1 month, you can live in this house half the year. If you don't go to Starbucks for 2 months, you live in the house for the whole year right now, based on what we're talking about. And he said, well, that sounds simple enough. Where do I sign? That's it. You guys, make it easy, make it understandable, break it down to their terms. Because when they talk to lenders get on a calculator and they say, so how much do you make? And they're asking all these questions. The whole time they're looking up at the person, looking down, looking up, looking down, and they're tapping on their calculator. And then all of a sudden they say, this is what you qualify for. And the people say, wait a second, how'd you come up with that? Oh, because this and your long-term debt and all these other things on the ratios that they qualify people for because they're federally regulated ratios. But you need to understand that to qualify somebody in real time, but also, and always tell them, hey, this is an estimate. I'm not a mortgage guy. You have to disclose that, but you can give them an understanding of what it's going to cost per month. And when you do that, there's extreme power in that at converting people at open houses, converting people if they have questions on rates when you bump into them, or on the phone, or if they're calling about different properties. When I advertise my properties, I advertise every property with the simplest rates and terms. I do not put the price. And I know everybody out there is going to say, well, that must drive consumers crazy. No, it drives them crazy enough to call me. And then I can have a conversation. And then I elevate my professionalism by breaking down different payments and having real-time conversations with them on all the different options they have to finance a home and why they should be doing it as soon as possible because of where rates are trending and how it's going to affect their family and their buying power and their costs on a monthly basis. And they say, wow, nobody else has explained that to me. You guys, this is gold. If you can get this down, you'll be a powerhouse. If you can get this down, I guarantee you, you'll convert 2 people to commit to working with you this weekend at any open house. They'll say, that's the person I want to work with because nobody else explained this to me and nobody else broke it down to me. And it's really simple. I know it sounds complicated. Look, I'm doing it in my head. I'm not Rain Man. There isn't 14 minutes to Wapner, right? I'm calculating it out based on numbers. Numbers mean something. Data means something. Payments mean something. That's what everybody's looking at. What is my payment? They always ask you that. So what would my payment be? How much do I need to put down? What do I need to have in reserves? How much am I going to pay in tax on the property? You can write all that out, and then they're going to freak out and say, just wait, don't freak out. Let me show you all the benefits and what your real payment is, not your true payment. Okay? The true payment is, yes, you're going to have to pay the bank that more or less monthly. Your real payment is the benefits that you get based on how you take the tax benefits, whether it's in your weekly check, your bi-monthly check, your monthly check, or if you get a lump sum at the end of the year, because you have never received this before, because you've been renting. And that's why your landlord's so happy, because you're paying his mortgage and paying off his house. So you're basically flushing all your money down the toilet. I said, better yet, how about this? Bring me the money. I'll go to the Bahamas and I'll at least send you pictures on how great the trip is, or I'll go hang out with Randy Zimnoch on that beach in Bali. Look at him. Life's a beach. He's got it all set because everybody's paying his mortgages. That's the American dream, you guys. And that's how you have to break it down in the simplest terms. Most agents do not know how to understand and explain payments. It's very, very, very powerful. And if you start this today, understanding how to break down payments in the simplest terms. If somebody comes to you and says, look, I'm trying to buy a house, 500,000. What do you feel about the market? Like Brian says, well, what sector are you in? Are you trying to buy it as a primary, an investment? Are you going to Airbnb it? Is it a second home? What is it? And what's your intent? What's your purpose? What's your motivation? But you know that on a $500,000 property, they can put 10% down, which is 50,000. You know that they're going to finance 450,000. And you know that if you can get them 4% rate on 450,000, their payment is going to roughly be $1,800 a month for the principal and interest. But after the taxes, it's going to be roughly around $1,200 a month. And that's the reality. That's how you break it down. I've had people say, oh, I thought it was going to be way more. I go, no, stop throwing your money away. Stop paying rent. You can have your own house. You can paint the walls any color you want. You can listen to music as loud as you want. You can do whatever you want. And you're the owner. That's the American dream. We have to bridge the gap, you guys. So everybody else is pausing, taking a step back. That's what an agent told me the other day. I gave her a counter. She said, I'm going to let my clients marinate. I said, marinate? What are they? A piece of prime rib? What's going on here? Are we having a barbecue? Right? And then I called her back and I said, look, here are the payments. Here's the structure. This is the deal. She said, oh, I don't think they're going to counter. I said, why wouldn't they counter? She said, they're going to pause for 3 months. I said, so you don't want to sell them anything. You want somebody else to sell them something. What's pausing for 3 months going to do? I don't get it. She goes, I don't either. I said, well, find out. Ask questions. Why? How is that going to benefit you in your journey? And they're usually going to give you two answers. They're going to give you the socially acceptable answer and then the real answer, the honest answer. So you got to dig through that. Say, that sounds great, but what's the real meaning? Get down to the root of the matter. They might say, I lost all my money in the stock market, or I lost all my money in crypto, or, you know, we have to have my mother-in-law move in with us or something. And get to be solution oriented, not problem oriented, and pick up the phone and have real-time conversations. It's super, super important. Look, I've taken up a lot of time on the payments. I'm super passionate about this, you guys. I use it every day in real estate. Break it down to the simplest terms. Say, look, don't go to the movies for 20 bucks a ticket, even though Top Gun Maverick's awesome and Cameron Smith was starring in it, right? Don't go see that. Save that 20 bucks. You can live in the house, because you can't live in the movie theater. The last time I checked, they kick you out at the end of the movie. Nobody's going to kick you out of your house. That's it. Always be closing. ABC. Figure out the solutions. All right. I'm out. I'm fired up. My daughter's birthday, 15. I can't believe it. I'm aging disgracefully.
I love it. Pete, that was great. Randy, I want to jump back to you. Yes, Pete, tell your daughter happy birthday from all of us. We were talking about that before you got on, and your dog as well. Tell him happy birthday. Yeah, Craig, go ahead.
You don't want us to sing for happy birthday to. Hey, I want to go back to something that Gail said. I'm sitting here and we're having Pete talking about these payments and all this stuff. And now we're talking about an inventory that builders have. Builders don't have our social media. I'm going to get off this call. I'm going to call all the local builders in the area, say, what do you have now that's moving because you've lost X amount of people right now? I'm going to say, do you mind if I come and do a social media pump right from there saying, any buyers that want to buy, I'm here to help you buy this thing and put it out to my stuff. The builder's given a special offer out there. Find out what they want to do and take that idea. That was brilliant what Gail said. She's negotiating with the builders. They've got stuff hidden. Why not go to them? They can't market the way we market. So go be the tool using the tools that Pete just did. Brilliant. all in an hour.
There you go. Homework for everyone. So if you guys want to make some business, you slow down a little bit, go call all your builders, be their person, and you'll probably find that one of those builders are so tired with their realtor that can't sell anything right now, they're going to pick you up as their agent, and maybe you're going to get 100 deals next year just because you were proactive, you were trying to benefit them. Remember, it's always about them, you guys. And when we help other people, when we help even the builders, when we help them sell their properties, we make money. So that's important. Randy, I have to get back to you, buddy. I know you've been waiting, so go ahead.
Myself? Oh, I'm good.
Yeah. Okay, cool. No, I thought earlier before Pete jumped on, you were like, man, I got something for you. I'm ready. Let's do it.
I know what I was going to say. Just a couple of people mentioned that, that they're not seeing it as a buyer's market yet. So just keep in mind that, everything is localized. So you really have to dive into your own personal market and be ready though, right? Because if it's going to keep going in this direction, it's going to get to your market. So treat yourself blessed that exactly and you're prepared before all the other agents on how to navigate through what we're already dealing with in San Diego, right? Or in Florida, or some of us that are on the panel. So don't turn your eye to what you're hearing, right? Because it's gonna come if this maintains much longer. It's not, is it coming? It's just when, right?
I had that conversation yesterday with one of my team members. He's a little bit overconfident. He's been super successful, right? Blowing up through this amazing boom. He knows everything. And I had to tell him, and I was just honest. I said, Mike, I said, you're a little bit overconfident right now, buddy. That's what I said, a little bit overconfident. I want to help you. I want to educate you. And that's what we're all here for. Maybe it's not happening in your market just yet. And that's good. Be blessed. You should be thankful for that. But just know that it will be coming, guys. We've been through this many years. We have over 100 years here just on this panel of experience. We've seen it go up and down. It's going to be okay. We can prosper either way, but don't close off your mind because what we're saying maybe isn't working in your area. Be open-minded, use what we give you, and you'll definitely do better, I think.
Yeah, and I think, any market, this can work really effectively if you know how to break down payments and qualify people and talk to them. Just get in front of your lenders and go pretend like you're a buyer and have them walk you through the whole process. How they get principal and interest, taxes and insurance per month. How do they just get principal and interest? What are the write-offs? How does it work with somebody in a 30% tax bracket and a 40% tax bracket? And show how you can do it, you guys, in long form. Sit in front of somebody and map it out so they can see it in real time. Don't do it on a computer. If you need a calculator because you're not good at math, get the big one. They sell these by the millions. I don't know if you guys can see it, but this is the one that looks the size of like a calendar, right? They sell them in Florida. It was created in Florida because nobody can see anything. That's why the state, the state emblem on the Florida flag is two hands on a steering wheel. That's it. You see no head, right? But they have these huge calculators that you can calculate everything and really show people the numbers. But I still write it out. Even while I'm calculating, I'll show it to them. And then I show the key numbers. I take out a highlighter and I say, this is your true payment, but this is your real payment. And they see it instantaneously. And they usually say, God, I never knew that. I'm ready to buy right now. That's it. And I say, you know what's funny? Usually, people on average buy houses from me between 3 and 5 houses on average. And I subliminally plant that seed that they don't have to look at 30 houses. By qualifying, it gives them confidence and they're comfortable to buy, right? And you guys have to really break down this thing. My buddy Dave Lawson, who's not on today because he's in a meeting, did email me and he said, look, I have some great info on why it's better to buy now than it was 3 months ago. And he'll share all that with you guys. I'll get Dave's a great coach. He always comes from the heart, and you can look it up, Dave Lawson. He's out of Park City, great guy. He's been in the industry probably 35 years and sells, I don't know, probably 400 or 500 houses a year. So he's got to be doing something right. But he understands payments and he understands simplifying and explaining in depth to buyers and sellers why it's advantageous for them and how they can benefit right now and why there's a huge opportunity in this market. And
Yeah.
when you speak those words, those hot buttons to people, you guys, and you make it your own, and you know how to pause and fluctuate your voice and use those keywords: benefit, opportunity, advantage, right? People will react.
Hey, if you're listening to this and you're like, mine is spinning because of all the numbers that Pete and everybody threw at you, just the biggest takeaway from today, go sit with your lender and get the information from them so it starts making sense to you, because you're going to find out there's some general rules that you can quickly do in your head without even needing a calculator. And I don't know if you guys picked up on what Matt Battiata said earlier, that it cost his client or the buyer on one of his listings 2% of the loan to buy down the rate 0.5%. So, and I did the same thing. I quickly reached out to my lender a couple of weeks ago. I said, hey, if I were to offer a reduction for 0.25%, what is that going to cost me, right? For my client or my investor client. And it roughly adds up to about 1% of the loan amount per quarter of an interest rate. So this is why Matt Battiata said, well, it's going to cost my client 2%, right, of the loan amount in order to buy down the buyer's rate by half. So it's just a quick rule of thumb that you're able to use without trying to get the exact number, but you can quickly, on the fly, when you're negotiating with other agents, give them that data and be like, look, if you want, just have your buyer call your lender, call their lender, have them confirm. It's probably going to cost my seller roughly 2 points of your buyer's loan amount, and we're okay to pay it, but go and confirm it. Right. But now you look like the professional because you have the general rule, right? Because you're not the finance guy, you're not the lender, so you can't quote exacts, but you could get general estimates kind of like on the fly, like Pete's giving you, right? 30 to 40%, roughly somewhere in there. It's a deduction on this. Like, that's what you're talking about. Just get the general idea so that gets people thinking a different way. So that's the biggest takeaway. If you got nothing out of this, go talk to your lender, get those general numbers and watch what happens. Honestly, like
You guys, and that's a great point, Randy. And what I always say is this: what's the hottest car market of the year that you see the most car commercials?
end of the year.
End of the year, Christmas time, right? Because their sales spike. Everybody wants a new car for the new year, or they want to surprise somebody with one of those big red bows. I just buy the bow and put it on an old car, right? It's way cheaper. It just, I get it shined up. But no, seriously, what I'm saying is this: is when you see those offers on TV, do they tell you the price of the car, or do they tell you the easiest terms to get that car to get you in? So why do we all keep marketing the same way? Saying, I have this condo on the market for $499,99999. Who gives a shit? Why won't you just say you can buy this condo for $49,950 down, and you can buy this condo for $1,750 a month? Do you think that'll make the phone ring? Do you think that's doing it differently? Have the APR on there. So if it's at 4%, it would be probably 4.3. Check with your lender. And then you have to have a disclosure at the bottom that says subject to rates and qualifying and so forth. That's it. And the people will call you because they're going to say, what the hell does this mean? I can buy that condo for 50 grand, because nobody pays attention to the details. That's not how their brain works, right? They take it a different way. But if you put it out there, I'm having take a video. I'm having an open house today. You can come down and buy this house today for $49,000 down and $1,750 a month. Call me. I'll explain how. Stop renting. Stop flushing your money down the toilet. Start developing your future. Start living the American dream. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Give me a call on my private number. Boom. That's it. And get that out there. I don't care if you're on TikTok, right? Or if you're on Instagram or on Snapchat or LinkedIn or Facebook, or YouTube. What do they all have in common, you guys? They're free. And what do I always say? If it's free, it's for me. My wife doesn't like that, but I do, right? Because everything comes down to a monthly payment to everybody in society. I don't care what they say. What does it cost? That's it. If you can break it down to the simplest terms, the easiest terms, talking candy bars and gumballs, doesn't matter. Break it down to simple terms. I always ask, what do they like to do? Oh, I like to ski. The average skiing ticket for a day pass was probably $185. I said, don't ski 2 days. You get to buy this house and put your skis in the house forever. How great is that? Because your skis are going to depreciate. Your house is going to increase over time, and it's going to set up your family for life. Let me show you how. That's it. But most people don't know. They're like, oh, I don't know what the payment is. Let me get my mortgage guy online. Where's the mortgage guy? He's at the Padres game, 4 Bears deep, going, hey, Padres are winning. What's going on? What are you doing? Oh, I'm at an open house. I got another buyer for you. Oh, that's awesome. Can I talk to you on Tuesday? Then he forgets to call him on Tuesday. You can't let people marinate. You got to strike while it's hot and break down those payments. Create urgency. That's the greatest gift in this market is urgency. Look right at them and say, why would you not buy this house right now? What's wrong with you?
You're crazy.
Listen, I know we're over, you guys. We can pick it up again next week. Anybody else want to add anything? I didn't want to hog the last 30 minutes. I just came in hot. So
I want to add one thing in closing. Cameron and I had a chance to see Bobby Martin this past weekend. That guy comes out of the water and flushes his hair like that. It is real hair. It does not fall off. So if Bobby, you're looking at this, love you, miss you. It was great seeing you this past week.
Listen, best hair in the business, right? It's unbelievable. It looks like a wig and it's not.
I didn't believe it till I saw it in real vision. It was like, Bobbyisms.
Listen, Google amortization chart, everyone. So you know the numbers. All right. And they always do it based on borrowing $1,000. And they can give you all the different ones, interest only. Usually they can even calculate a 3-year, a 5-year, a 7, a 10-year, a 15, a 18, a 20, a 25, a 30, a 40. There's tons of options. Just say, what do you want to do? I'll show you your payment. That's it. Break it down to the payments and get people wrapped up. All right. Great show. Sorry I was late. Everybody have an awesome weekend. Be successful. Be honest. Be happy. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
See you guys next
Happy
week.
birthday to your daughter.
Thanks, buddy.
See you guys.